A couple weeks before this video was recorded, I noticed that there's a lot of hype in the news, the YouTube news, about the new Kaoss KPV pad that just came out by Korg. And it reminded me of, over the years, the different Kaoss or Kaossilator style devices that I've owned. So going back in time, I've owned the little yellow and red Kaoss devices that came out quite a few years back. I've also owned a KP3, which is a predecessor, to the KPV, and I owned a Kaossilator Pro. And out of all of those, I've sold all of them. So the question that comes up when a new product like the KPV is introduced is, should we upgrade? And for me, the answer is probably no. So maybe you're thinking, well, upgrade from what? So if you saw in the thumbnail, you already know that I'm talking about the KP or Kaoss Pad Quad. Now, I've had the Kaoss Pad Quad for over a decade now, and the reason why I like this over the other style that's more like the KPV, and that is because the Kaoss Pad Quad just has a certain speed and immediacy, and even the lack of presets is something that I actually really like, because for me, I like to use this whenever I'm doing live jam sessions. And for that, you don't want to be menu diving. Now, I'm not trying to say that this is better, that this is actually better than the KPV. That would be ridiculous to make a statement like that. I do think that for my use case, and maybe some of you who like to do live jams, that the Quad, the KP or Kaoss Pad Quad, may be the right choice for you. If you, for example, want to have very consistent settings, that is, where you want to know that during a certain part in your performance, you're going to have a certain effects setup or some sampling type setups, that's where the KPV is really going to shine, and it's going to be a lot better than this, of course, because it has those presets. If you like the idea of menu diving and tweaking, and you're not concerned about knowing exactly what effect is in use at all times, because you can't see by looking at it what effects are actually active. And again, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just pointing out differences. On this, you can. On this, you always see which effect is active because the effects are all here. So on the KP Quad, you've got 5 different effects that you can choose from on 4 different lanes, you could say. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but whenever you do the math, it actually comes out to being over 1,000 different ways, different combinations that you can use this. So that's quite a bit, obviously. It's not going to be as many as you can do on a KPV, understood. What you're going to see in the demo, among other things, is that with the Kaoss Pad Quad, you can select multiple effects at one time. You can change the effects in real time using 3 or 4 different fingers while another finger is actually on the pad. And that's not something that you can do with the KPV in the same way that you can with this. And you don't have to imagine what the effects are. You can actually see what they are. And there's different things you can freeze. I'm not going to go into every single detail about this because there are other videos out there that explain the features better. But this is just so much fun. It really is. And I'm really glad that I have it in my studio. And of course, because this came out years ago, I have no incentive to tell you that this is better. I'm not going to make any money off of this. In fact, this is a good time to mention that this channel is not sponsored at all by anybody. So this information is just for you, and it's just my opinion. And I'd be really interested to know in the comments if you agree or you disagree with me, or maybe reasons why you think that the KPV is the right choice for you. I'm not ruling out the possibility that I might get a KPV down the road. I might, but it's just not something that I really need to have right now. There's been a few times where I've thought about selling my Kaoss Pad Quad, but then whenever I look at it and then I plug it in and play with it, I realize really quickly just how good it is and how fun it is. And I think that, for a lot of us hobby musicians like me, I'm not a professional, because if I was, the increased sound quality alone of the KPV would be enough to maybe drive me in that direction to where I would actually buy that. But I'm a hobby person, I'm a hobby synthesizer player, studio musician, whatever you want to call it. I have no intention of ever going professional in any way, so having the best sound quality is not really the most important thing to me. A lot of times it's just about experimentation and, again, just having fun.
You cannot reverse time.
You cannot reverse time. You cannot reverse time. You cannot reverse time. You cannot reverse. You cannot reverse. You cannot reverse time. 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 Mouse server unactive. 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 Mouse time. You cannot reverse 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 time. Mouse server unactive. Mouse server unactive. Mouse server unactive. Mouse server unactive. I do feel kind of bad in making this video because I checked on Reverb this morning and there aren't hardly any Kaoss Pad Quads for sale. I didn't check eBay and other sources, and maybe you have local places where you can buy them, maybe Craigslist, or depending on what country you're from, maybe there's some other websites where you can buy used gear. But it seems that the Kaoss Pad Quad is kind of rare to find on the used market. And I suspect that one of the reasons for that is because it really is an awesome device. Now, what might have put me over the edge where I would have went ahead and bought a KPV is if they would have changed these inputs, and I've heard other folks on YouTube say the same thing. I really wish they would have upgraded so that you don't have these RCA style input and output jacks like I have on the KP Quad here. 1/4 inch is the standard. Now I do realize that it would have mean that they would have had to have changed the case. It looks like they basically recycled, reused the same style case that they had, back in the old KPs that I had in the past. So that saved them money. And again, I guess it depends on who it's for. If it's geared more towards DJs, and DJs tend to use the RCA jacks more still, I suppose. There are RCA jacks on the back of the MPC products, so maybe that would be something that you could use also, just to make it easier, because otherwise it's kind of awkward when you have to convert RCA to 1/4 inch. It's not a real big deal, but it's just, to me, RCA jacks signal amateur in a lot of cases. Not always, okay? And again, I'm an amateur, so it really doesn't matter. But, you know, just an observation. That would have been nice. Other than that, maybe a slightly larger LCD screen, like an OLED display that, you know, has more information on it. Maybe if it was big enough to show a label of what effect is active, you know, in each of the four corners, that might have been, you know, something nice. But, you know, it's the thing with these products is you can always find things that you wish were better, and you're always going to find things that you don't understand, you know, that don't fit what you think would be the ideal product, and you're never going to find the perfect product, in other words. So yeah, that's something that I try to keep in mind. Instead of trying to wish that something like the KPV is different than it is, it's best to just embrace it for what it is. You know, and that's something that I'm trying to do with all the different devices and products and synthesizers in my studio is don't complain about what's missing. Be happy for what it has. If you like this kind of content, I'd really appreciate it if you consider hitting like and or subscribe. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Have a great day.